I felt like I got to a place where my desperation for God exceeded my desperation for him. It reached a certain point of brokenness and getting to the end of myself, to the point where I just needed God. I had reached a certain point of brokenness and getting to the end of myself, to the point where I just needed God. And that was the beginning of healing for me. And I know that sounds crazy. That was the beginning of me seeing things from a completely different perspective. So I moved back to London, moved back to my mom's house, and things were tough. I was driving this car that kept breaking down every 30 minutes. In the morning, starting the car was just, it was a headache. I was on my mom's sofa. I was living out of Ghana Moscow bags. It was tough, guys. Imagine going, it's different when you're going through something, when you're going through like, heartbreak and all of that stuff. And, you have money, do you get what I'm saying? So you can be going on holidays. You can basically be doing things to make yourself feel good in certain moments. But I didn't have that. I was on my mom's sofa. When I moved to London, the next day I actually had to resume work. God, thank God. I just thank God for my mom, because she was very instrumental in my healing process. I'm hoping that everything I've been saying so far, it's been sort of resonating with you. And I just want to speak about, what actually took place in terms of like how I started to heal and forgive and all of that stuff, which is the main point of this video. I don't know how many minutes it's been now, and I'm only getting to the main point of the video. So healing for me was messy. There wasn't like an order to it. It's only now that I'm reflecting on it that I've tried to put it in such a way that is presentable. But while going through it at the time, it was messy. Healing was very messy. It was all over the place. It was in stages. I kept on going forward, going back, and it was literally just, it was a mess. Whew. What a journey this video has been. So how did I get to where I am now? How did I get to this place where, I'm no longer suicidal anymore? I'm not hurting anymore. I'm not in pain. Like, obviously the memory is still there, but I'm not triggered. How did I get to this place? And I still believe that I'm on a journey, but the work that God has done in me is just so amazing. I've come such a long way. I just never imagined. I remember when going through the thick of it, I never imagined that I would be where I am right now. Honestly, if anybody had told me that I would be sat here and I would actually be okay, I would have been like, you are a liar, okay? You are a liar. But to the glory of God, I can confidently sit here and tell you guys that I am okay. In fact, okay is an understatement. I am more than okay. I feel like God has done such a work in me that is just, that only him could have done. And I'm about to go into it in terms of, healing. Just before I go into like a few things that I believe aided the journey, aided my healing process and things like that, I want to mention that ultimately it is God that heals. I know people say a lot, time heals with time, but I don't 100% subscribe to that saying, because I believe it's what you do in that time that matters. I believe it's not time that heals. It is God that heals. Because the truth is, guys, I did go through a short period where I just wanted to distract myself. I wanted to distract myself from everything that I was feeling and everything that I was going through. So during a short period of time, I found myself going out a lot. I started drinking again. Yeah, I was just really enjoying attention from other guys, because I was just like, you know what? If he doesn't want me, other people will. I'm a baby girl, like I'm fine. That did not last, guys. I'll tell you a little story just to lighten up the mood a bit. So on one of my escapades going out. I obviously was getting a lot of attention and things like that, and I thought that I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna do me, like I'm just gonna do what I want to do. I didn't end up doing anything. I didn't end up doing anything. So I met this guy in one of my night outs. I said I was gonna be real, right? And this is me being real. I met this guy in one of my night outs. We exchanged numbers and everything, and I think we're messaging for maybe just for about 2 days, but my mind wasn't even there. Like literally, it was just a distraction. Like it was just a distraction. I don't even remember too much about what the conversations was about, and I just wanted to be distracted. Like when you're going through something like that, you just want to feel good. You just want to feel good. So we're just been talking, and then one day this guy all he said to me was, "So when am I going to come and see you? I want to take you out." And just the thoughts, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to actually meet up with this person. Like, I don't know what happened, guys. All that thing I was doing, like, oh, I'm a bad bee. Like, I'm still, I'm this, I'm that. I'm not a bad bee. So when he said, I want to take you out, bearing in mind, this guy did not know anything about me. Like, we had just met, like, he didn't know anything. So as soon as he said that, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm going to have to actually meet up with this person. I don't know what happened. I just started confessing. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm married. I was like, I'm married. I'm just going through separation right now. Like, I'm really sorry. I should not be talking to. I literally just started like saying so much. I was just like, listen, I don't want to waste your time. Like, I just started saying, I was like, listen, I shouldn't even be out. Like, I don't know what I'm doing out. I don't drink. I don't go out. I don't do all of this stuff. I literally just started saying so much. I just started pouring out, like just saying the most. And he was just like, whoa, like, calm down. If you don't want to meet, you don't have to meet. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But that's just a funny story. I digressed. So back to what I was talking about, healing. So I was saying that ultimately it is God that heals. There's all these things that we're tempted to do, and it's understandable when you're going through something like that. You just, anything to take your mind off it, but those things don't last. They make you feel good in the moment, but the truth is after that you feel even worse. You're back to remembering that you're actually going through this situation. So every other thing that I'm about to mention in terms of things that I believe helped me are just vessels that I believe that God used to help me heal. But ultimately, it is Him that heals. And the first thing I want to mention, it may sound cliche, but it would be just be in God's presence. Now, when I say be in God's presence, I know some people may be thinking, you need to pray and do all of this stuff. To be completely honest with you, what being in God's presence looked like for me was very different. I couldn't pray. I couldn't do all I didn't have it in me. I did not have it in me. I was broken. So what being in God's presence looked like was a lot of times just tears. I would just cry and cry and cry and cry. And it looked like just having real conversations with God. Like I would literally just be like, God, if you knew this marriage was going to end, why did you allow me to get into it? I didn't beg you to be married. I didn't ask to be married. Why? And also, you're sovereign. Like, why couldn't you just do something and cause the marriage to just work out, It would be me just being real with God. And I would just be like, why are you allowing me to go through this? And literally what being in God's presence looked like was just that. And it's better for you to be in God's presence and be broken and be honest with Him than turn to men, for example, or turn to alcohol, or turn to, sex, or turn to whatever else, because those things won't last. And that's what being in God's presence looked like. And I don't mean being in church. And I want to make sure that you understand the difference between what I'm saying. I don't mean being in church, because I couldn't be in church. That's the honest truth. In what we know church to be, I couldn't. I don't mean going to church. Don't get me wrong. Being surrounded by people, like a community is good, but I couldn't really be in church. I couldn't really just carry on with business as usual. I had to just be in God's presence and work things out with Him. And it was being in that place that, a lot of things then started to be revealed. And while I don't believe that God allowed the ending of my marriage to happen, but I do believe that somehow he used that situation to start to reveal certain things about myself that I had to work through. He used that situation to start to show me that in actual fact, I had made my husband my God. In actual fact, my identity was found in this man. That, my identity was not really found in God. And it was through all of that, being in that place, that all these things started to come out. I then had to start to work through all of these things. Another thing that I believed really helped me was therapy. And I know we've spoken about, there's been a lot of talk about therapy, but therapy really, really made the difference. And I don't believe that therapy should replace God. I believe that therapy is a tool that God uses. I had a Christian, when I moved back to London, I decided that I was going to start therapy very early on, because I said to myself, guys, I will not be that woman. Okay, I will not be that woman who 10 years later, I'm still hung up. Like I'm married with children and I'm still dealing with the effects of my divorce. I really wanted to be healed. I wanted to be whole, and I wanted to continue to work in everything that God had called me to be and to do. So therapy was very helpful. I believe that one of the things that therapy really helped me with was it helped me to give language to how I was feeling, because there was many times when I couldn't even put words to how I was feeling, but therapy helped me put words to how I was feeling. And once I was able to put words to how I was feeling, I was able to deal with it, and it wasn't just a normal therapist, it was a Christian therapist. So they weren't just dealing with things from a psychological point of view. They were also helping me deal with things from a spiritual point of view. Obviously, because of the divorce and the heartbreak and the disappointment, it also brought about issues from my past. It brought about things that I thought that I had dealt with, but in actual fact, I hadn't dealt with it. And going through all of this, everything was just coming up, and I had to work through it. And therapy helped me work through those childhood traumas and rejection and insecurities and everything. Another thing that I believed really, really helped was being surrounded by my family and my friends. Now, in the beginning stages, I'm not gonna lie, I messaged my leaders, my pastors, and I said, nobody should talk to me. Okay, you know what? I don't want to speak to anybody. I just want you to know I'm about to block you guys. Nobody should contact me. Nobody should message me. I legit send that to my leaders and my pastors and everybody. And I was just like, nobody should talk to me. So in the early stages, I wanted to isolate myself, but it was one of the worst things that I could have done, because I was left. Because when you isolate yourself, you think that, okay, I'm just going to be alone. But the truth of the matter is, you're going to be alone with the pain. You're going to be alone with your thoughts. You're going to be alone with everything. Like you're vulnerable, you're emotional, you're susceptible to the voice of the enemy. Like you're literally, like, I believe that's how I started having suicidal thoughts, is when I just said, you know what, everybody leave me alone. So as much as it's tempting to not want to speak because it's a difficult situation to speak about, you just feel like nobody understands, you need to speak about it. When I started to open up and when I started to speak to my friends and my family about how I was feeling, I just got everything out of my system. There was nothing that the enemy had a hold over me anymore. So definitely, surround yourself with friends and family. And another thing that I believe was very, very instrumental for me, which is why I really wanted to do this video at the same time, is when I moved to London, I prayed a prayer and I said, God, I love my friends, I love my family, but I want you to bring people my way. It sounds crazy to pray this prayer because it's just like, divorce is a horrible thing. But I was like, I want to see that there's hope. I want to see that there's life after divorce. I want to speak to somebody and I want to be surrounded by people who maybe have gone through the same thing as me, who really understand what I'm going through. I said, God, I want you to surround me with women that feel what I'm feeling, so that I can, speak to them about how they dealt with things, so that I can get these crazy thoughts out of my head, so that I can see that I'm not crazy, and they can relate with how I'm feeling. And God answered that prayer. When I moved to London, God and the way he did it was just so amazing. God connected me with at least 4 or 5 people who had been through something similar or even worse, connected me with 5 women who their stories were just amazing, blew my mind. And that served as a point of reference for me to say, you know what? I can get through this. Like when I look at their lives and I see where God has brought them from, where they are right now, and the things that they're doing in God, I'm just like, my mind was blown. And it encouraged me, and it made me feel like, you know what, there is life after heartbreak. There is life after divorce. There is life after these traumatizing experiences that I've gone through. So that was another thing that I believed helped me. And another thing that really, I felt like really played a part, this one may seem not funny, but it may seem like menial, but it really helped me, was regardless of what I was going through, guys, right? I would wake up every day and I would dress up and look good. Nobody knew what I was going through. No, literally nobody knew what was going on with me. But that was just my thing. Like, even the times when I didn't want to, I would literally just hear a voice say to me, just get up, dress up. And with dragging my feet, sometimes with tears in my eyes, I would just get up, I would dress up. And the power that that had on you know, making me feel good about myself, I just actually can't explain it in words. Hence, a lot of you would know that I do own a personal styling business, and it's more than just clothes. It's more than just personal styling to me. During that period, I've always been interested in fashion, but in that period of my life, the power that, you know, just getting up, dressing up and going out and looking good, the power that it had to just transform my mood was just mind-blowing. So that was something else that really helped me. Another thing is that I wasn't idle. It was really difficult, but I was working. And then I really felt like God was leading me to start this business. And yeah, so these are just some of the things that aided my healing. But like I said, it wasn't cute. It was messy, and it was in stages. I'll never forget one of the days I came back from work. I believe this was like around September 2019. Maybe like around September 2019. I came back from work. There was a letter waiting for me. I opened the letter, and it was the letter from my ex-husband saying that he has filed for a divorce officially. I remember just falling down on the floor, and I was just crying and crying and crying. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. I remember going through that, even though I'd already started going through some level of healing, just seeing that, it took me back. I also remember just last year, actually, over the COVID period, because when he filed, the divorce wasn't finalized. So there was still that period of not even knowing what was going on. And I was still going through the process of healing. It was in, I believe, perhaps I wrote this down. I was actually in July, on the 13th of July. Obviously by this point, I feel like I'd gone through so much. I'd done a lot of work, and I was in a good place. And I got the confirmation that the divorce was now finalized. It was complete. And that was on the 13th of July, just last year. So it was in the middle of lockdown. And guys, you would think that obviously it had been like maybe 2 years. Up until that point, it's like, okay, it's just a formality. But just seeing those words, you are now divorced, it broke me again. It didn't take me back to the beginning, but it definitely broke me to a certain point where I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is happening. I remember that day I called one of my sisters and I said, sis, I don't know how to say this to other people because they'll probably think I'm crazy. Like, Tosin, you know, you've been going, like, this is just a formality at this point. But I said, I still feel hurt, you know, and it was just that ability to still be able to be honest. I was like, I still feel hurt. Like, just seeing the words on the paper, it's like, I'm now divorced. And I had to then go through, that was another stage of healing that I had to go through, just accepting that this thing is actually completely over. Speaking about the topic of forgiveness, the question, have I forgiven my ex-husband? The answer to that question is yes. Forgiveness for me was never an option. And that's because I'm a Christian and I'm a believer. And I know when you're going through something like that, obviously it's easier to say now. Obviously when you're going through it, it's more difficult. But the truth of the matter is, even while going through everything I was going through, the reason I was even more angry is like, I have to forgive. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, Forgiveness was not something that was an option. I wasn't thinking, am I going to or am I not going to forgive? I was going to forgive, period. I was just upset at the fact that now I have to do this work. And now I have to do this work, to forgive this person for what they had done to me. Yeah, so I did make the decision very early on, but the journey I then went on in terms of forgiveness was almost like my emotions catching up to the decision that I had made. I hope that makes sense. So I made the decision. It was after I made the decision, I then did the work. Through therapy, through speaking, through all of that stuff, so that I could now, feel okay about this decision that I had made to forgive. And it wasn't easy at all. It wasn't easy. And there'll be times when, I'd see something, or maybe I'd be watching something, or just things that would remind me of everything that had happened, and I would feel upset again, and I would have to remind myself that I had made the decision to forgive. And I feel like this is what the Bible means by forgiven 70 times 7 times. Because it's like I went through periods where I had to just say to myself again, I have forgiven this person, and forgive when I'm reminded of that pain or I'm reminded of that disappointment. And God started to show me, God has used this situation to really open my eyes to things even about my relationship with him, and to things about Christ that I had just never, when you know something up here, it's just being revealed in a way now that is real. It's different. And in the area of forgiveness and grace and mercy, God just opened my eyes in a way that was hard but was life-changing at the same time. And it's crazy because even though this has been going on for such a long time, like I said, I made a decision to forgive. Myself and my ex-husband are civil. So there's no hate, there's no anger, there's no bitterness, there's basically nothing like that. So everything is cool. When I mean cool, like basically it's civil. But it's crazy how even though this had been going on for a long time, I'd forgiven and I've healed, all of that stuff. I'm still going through therapy, by the way. So I'm still in therapy. I'm still attending like sessions. And it's not necessarily, it's not even just for that situation anymore. It's also dealing with a lot of things that came about as a result of the situation. So it's no longer speaking about the divorce. Now it's led on to me dealing with things from my childhood and that kind of stuff. And it's just been really amazing. It's been a really amazing journey. But it's crazy how even though this has been going on for 2 years, it was only a couple of weeks ago in a particular therapy session that we're talking about forgiveness and grace and mercy, and God opened my eyes to something that was so simple yet profound, and it can only be the Holy Spirit. And in that session, I just paused and I said, as a Christian, right, in our walk with God, we always pray and we say, God, make me more like you. And we pray and we say, God, I just want to be more like Christ. And when we're going on our journey with God and, this walk of faith and Christianity, the goal and the desire is that every day we're getting closer and closer to becoming more like him. And I just paused and I said to myself, could it just be that right here in this moment, with everything that I have been through in regards to the heartbreak, the divorce, and everything where my ex-husband is concerned, right here is an opportunity for me to extend grace, mercy, and forgiveness when it's undeserving, in the same way that Christ extends it to me every single day. Oh guys, this is crazy. I said, could it be that in all of this, right here, I am presented with an opportunity to do something that we pray about a lot. And that's the crazy thing about our walk with God, is the fact that we pray these things, but every single day with the things that we go through, with life trials and challenges and things that we face on a daily basis, we are faced with opportunities to make certain choices and make certain decisions to show God that we really do mean what we say and we really do mean what we pray. And right there in that moment, my eyes was opened. It was just revealed to me in a completely different light. And I broke down. I said, God, every single day you extend grace and mercy to me in a way that I'm not deserving. Every day you forgive me when I don't deserve it. I said, in this moment, I am presented with everything I've been through. I'm presented with an opportunity to extend grace and mercy and forgiveness to somebody who, as far as I'm concerned, when we think about it in the reality of what it means, it's not really deserving of it. And I broke down and I said, whoa. And it just changed everything. Like I said, I'd made the decision to forgive anyway. I'd done a lot of work, but right there, something just switched in me again. And this was only a couple of weeks ago. Something switched in me again. And I said, you know what? While I don't believe that God allowed this to happen, I said, if everything I have been through all sums up to this opportunity right here to demonstrate the mercy and the grace of God and the forgiveness of God in the same way that He extends it to me every single day, I said, you know what? It's worth it. I said, I'm going to extend that grace. I'm going to extend that mercy. I'm going to extend that forgiveness and that love. Because at the end of the day, when we think about it on a much bigger scale, we are also not deserving of God's grace and God's mercy. And I say this not to justify when somebody has done us wrong. But the truth is, the moment I was able to take my eyes for a moment, just for a moment, in that moment, I was able to take my eyes off my situation, off my pain, off the things I had been through, and I put it on God and I put it on Christ. It just gave me a different perspective. And I said, God, you know what? I know that I'm not deserving of your grace and your mercy, of your forgiveness. Many times, because of the things that you already did for me on the cross, I don't know what I can do to repay you. You know, many times we say that to God, what can I possibly give? What can I possibly, pour out? Like, what is it that I can do? There's nothing that I can do. There's nothing that we can do that can ever match up to what Christ did for us on the cross. At the moment I started to see things from that perspective, I said, God, I can't do anything. There's nothing that I can do to really appreciate the mercy and the grace that you extend to me. So I said, if right here is an opportunity, if all you're asking of me is through life's challenges and through the things that we face, we take the opportunity to extend the same thing to others, I said, I'm gonna do it. And right there, this was just a couple of weeks ago, guys, something shifted again. And there was just a weight that was lifted off me. There was a burden. There was just something, I just felt free. I just felt there's just this freedom and just this weight that just lifted off. Like, it was no longer this personal thing that happened to me now. I just started to see things from a different perspective, on a bigger scale. And it was amazing. Okay, so guys, we have come to the end of this video. Wow, what a journey. What a journey. It's been a long video. Honestly, if you are here, you've stuck through it till the end, you're a real G, okay? You're a real G. Thank you so much. I apologize if the video seems all over the place. It's really not been the easiest actually sat down here talking about these things. I'm sure there's so much that I haven't even said. I bet I'm gonna watch this back and I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, I didn't say that, I should have said this, I should have said that, which is why I intend to do follow-up videos. So I am gonna do another video with a Q&A. I'm gonna do a video where I just have an interview with somebody else. I'm gonna bring on guests. I really want to do this subject justice, because I believe it's an instruction that God has given me, and I just really hope that this video has blessed you. I hope it has encouraged you. If you are going through heartbreak, if you're still in the thick of it, you're going through heartbreak, disappointment, you feels like your marriage is coming to an end, or you've just gone through, divorce, or you're still in the midst of it and you're just lost, confused, in pain, I just really hope that this video has brought about some sort of clarity. I hope this video, serves as a reference point for you to know that there is hope. He hasn't left you. He hasn't forsaken you. Right there in the midst of everything that you're going through, he is there with you, and he is able to bring you out. Whatever your situation looks like, he is able to bring you out. I am testament of the fact that God is faithful. I am testament of the fact that you will be okay. In fact, you will be more than okay. Okay, I'm sat here before you today with my mind intact. I'm sat here before you today healed, on the journey to wholeness and completeness. I'm on the journey of restoration. God has been doing amazing things. In the video, I spoke about the fact that I was sleeping on my mom's sofa. I mean, financially, I was just in a really bad place. God has been restoring me, and I think that he's even only just begun. And I think another testament is the fact that, people go through something like this and it becomes a chip on their shoulder. People go through something like this and it becomes the lens through which they view life. The testament for me, and it can only be God, the testament for me is the fact that I have come out of this without a chip on my shoulder. I've come out of this without this being the lens through which I view life. And that is what healing looks like. That is what true healing looks like. And that is what God has done for me. And I believe that God can do it for you too. You hear people who go through something like this, and when you hear them speak, they say things like, "Oh, men are trash. I don't believe in marriage anymore." You see men like that. Like, there's just all these crazy things. And I don't subscribe to it. And I'm not judging people who are in that mindset or in that space, but I think it's a testament, the fact that, I went through that and I'm here and I can sit here and I'm still able to say, no, not all men are trash. Now I still believe in marriage. I still believe that marriage is an institution that is ordained by God. I'm sat here not holding any grudges. I'm sat here not angry. I'm sat here hopeful for the future. I'm sat here, excited about the possibility of getting married again. I'm sat here excited about the possibility of me starting my own family. And I think that is just amazing. And I'm sat here even with my perspective on life haven't changed, with my perspective on what Christ did on the cross, with my perspective on forgiveness, with my perspective of, extending grace and mercy to people, to people around me, to my community, to my neighbors. And I think that is a testimony. And I just hope that this video, for those who may be going through it right now, I hope that this video serves as a reference point for you to see that there is life. There is life. There is life after heartbreak. There is life. You've just gone through a divorce. There is life on the other end. God bless you. Please, like I said, like, comment, subscribe. If you know someone who may be going through something and you believe that this video will encourage them, please share it with them. And yeah, that's it, guys. That's it from me, and see you in the next video.